Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to Venusian Womb, a womb journey where dreams are seeded, identities are alchemized, and the journey inward begins.
This season, we're honoring a dream in gestation, a 13-episode womb journey exploring the sacred phase between dreaming and birthing. It's about the phase where something meaningful is taking shape within you, even if you can't see it yet.
I'm Milena.
And I'm Megan.
Let's begin by taking a slow, deep breath together. Feel yourself arrive, land in your body.
This is a space to pause, to reflect, to connect, and to grow at your own pace.
We invite you to join us as we sit in conversation, share stories, and explore what it really means to be in the process of becoming. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 1 of the Venusian Womb podcast. We are so grateful to have you join us here. This episode is going to be, what if your soul isn't whispering, but screaming? And so we're going to be talking about the dream before the dream. Some things that we're going to go through today is, what is intuition? What are the layers of intuition? So what are the ways that we actually receive our own intuition? What is embodied intuition? So how can we connect even deeper to this inner knowing through our embodiment? How this applies to gestating the dream, and how to practice connecting to intuition when we are weaving our dream into manifested reality. So before we dive on in, I'm going to pass it off to Megan, who's going to drop us into this episode.
So I'm going to invite all of you to gently just close your eyes here. Take a deep breath into your bodies. To call all parts of yourself back to this moment. Turning your attention inwards. And if it feels supportive, you can place a hand on your belly, your heart. And noticing any areas of tension or tightness and just releasing with the out breath. So breathing in and release. If there's any little shakes or wiggles that come through, some stretching. And just taking some time here to attune to yourself, specifically to attune to your body. To notice what it feels like if you're holding your belly or your chest, the warmth of your own touch. If there's any smells in the space around you. Listening to the sound of my voice, maybe the sound of a dog's collar. And landing here in your body as you're listening to this episode today. And just affirming to yourself, I am here, I am whole, and I am listening. When you're ready, you can open your eyes. Welcome.
I love that. Thank you so much for dropping us in. And so now that you are here with us and hopefully feeling much more embodied in this present moment, more connected to your somatic senses, more connected to yourself, we are going to talk about something that is so deeply personal to every individual, and that is intuition. And so when we say intuition, this is truly, it's the ability to connect to something that is deep within yourself. Think of this almost as a reclamation of truth that goes beyond the logical mind. It goes beyond your own personal ego desires. There is almost this guidance that comes through intuition that leads us. It often, some people will say that it's almost like speaking to your higher self and having this part of you guide you and lead you exactly to the experiences, to the people, and to the places that you are meant to encounter and experience to be able to learn the lessons, to then go forward into the unfolding of your life and your dream. And so when we talk about intuition, it's almost this gut feeling. There's this inner knowing where, again, there is not concrete evidence sometimes for what your intuition is leading you to, but it just feels like this deep, I have to do this. Or I don't know how, but I know that this feels meaningful for me. And when we allow ourselves to actually surrender to what our intuition is saying and where this guidance is leading us without questioning it with the logical mind, this is where we are actually able to open ourselves up more to receiving this guidance from our
Mhm.
soul, from our higher self, from, if we want to say, from the universe, from God, whatever it is that feels most alive in terms of what is communicating to you. We could also have our spirit guides come through as well. These can be ancestors that have passed. These can be whatever other guides or deities that you may be connecting to as well, that can also come through in your intuition as guidance. And it's important to be able to build this somatic awareness of understanding how it comes through in our body, understanding with our mind, building the discernment of knowing what is coming from a place of mind and what is coming from a place of inner knowing and self beyond mind.
Mm. And I think a huge question a lot of people have is how. How do I connect to my intuition? Like, that sounds lovely, but how do you do it? And kind of like what we just did, like when we land you all at the beginning of these episodes, that's just self attunement. And when we're tuning to ourselves, we're tuning to our intuition, we're tuning to our internal world and what's going on and what's being communicated to us. And attunement is simply just presence with yourself, listening to the feelings that are in your body, to the emotions that might be present, to the sensations that might be indicating something. And you can really only hear that when you slow down and listen to yourself and attune to yourself. It's kind of like adjusting your frequency to like a radio station, like a particular channel, and knowing how to adjust yourself to the particular channel to sense what is coming for you and through you, and picking up on your own intuition. So that
Hmm.
is how you access your intuition, which we're definitely going to be covering much, much, much more in this episode. Mm. And it's also the very specific connection that we have to our senses, to all of them. And there are 7 senses, 8 senses. So that everyone knows the basic ones are sight, our hearing, our smelling, our tasting, our touching. But there's also 3 other that are not commonly spoken about, but are as important, which we have vestibular is the scientific name, but that just means balance, how we feel balanced. Proprioception is the awareness of where our body is in space. And interoception, which I think this is a newer sense that has been discovered and research is starting to talk a lot more about it, but it's the inner sensation of what we're feeling inside, like the cues that are coming from within us, which sounds very intuition like, if you ask me. So that is how we sense our intuition. It's really through our bodies, our senses, and what's going on internally, not externally.
I feel like I do want to add to that as well of, the more that we practice connecting to ourselves in such an embodied and present way, the more that we get better at it and the
Mhm.
stronger that our intuition comes through.
Mhm.
And I feel like a great way to actually start to practice this, because it's like a muscle, you have to strengthen it, is to carve out some intentional time in your day to connect to your embodied experience and just what is without needing to change it, without judging it, just
Mhm.
allowing your body to speak to you and just taking moments to listen.
Mhm.
And the more that you actually give yourself this dedicated time to connect, the more that you're going to find that it's easier to be able to just drop into connection throughout your day, even in just little moments of just taking a small pause before you go on and do the next thing and just checking in with yourself and seeing what's present and if there's any guidance that's coming through in terms of how to move forward.
And I love that you say that because it's so supportive for transitions in the day, like you said, and just establishing ritual. And even more than routine, I was going to say routine, but it really is ritual. And having, I mean, we love routine as humans, having a predictable thing that's going to get us going in our day. And when we have these set times when we're like intentionally connecting to ourselves. And an example could be when you're having breakfast, like having an embodied, slow breakfast where you're engaging so many of your senses when you're doing that. It's like the morning, you're still maybe waking up, and then
Mhm.
you're slowly eating your food. It smells good. You're tasting it. You could touch it if you're someone that likes to touch your food. And then that brings in that really intentionalized ritual of this practice that you're bringing in that doesn't have to feel like you're setting aside, ooh, I'm going to practice my attunement or my embodiment or connecting to my intuition in a particular way. It can really just be in your everyday life activities. Okay, this is my time that I'm going to practice connecting to my intuition with a normal everyday thing that I typically do, but with more intention.
Yeah, I feel like to even add another example, hopefully this is supportive to just give people some invitations. These are all invitations, see what works for you. But something that I found was very helpful for me as a practice was to pull oracle cards for my month.
Mhm.
And the beauty of that is that, there's so many ways that you can pull these cards. The way that I feel connected to do that is I'll ask my question of whatever guidance comes through, and then I shuffle. And usually there are some cards that will just fall out of the deck. And those are immediately, I'm like, okay, those are the ones that are coming through. And sometimes there's moments where there's like 10 of them that come out. I'm like, okay, my card is somewhere in these 10 cards that have fallen out. Now let me hone into specifically which ones are for this reading. And what I'll do is I'll place them all right side down, and then I'll hover my hand over them. And I'll just give myself a moment to feel into my senses. So I notice, is there any tingling in my hand? Is there any temperature changes? Sometimes I hover over a card and my hand gets so hot and I'm like, oh, this is the one. So there's so
Mhm.
many little cues. Sometimes I just become fixated on a specific card and I don't know why, but I'm like, this is the one. Not because I'm perhaps feeling anything in my hand, but there's just a knowing that this is the one that I have to pick.
Mhm.
So sometimes it's just truly there's a trust that you build with yourself as you're connecting to your intuition that's so important. And this is the discernment. It's the discernment of
Mhm.
knowing what's coming again from this channel, what's coming from a place within yourself beyond mind, and what's maybe coming from this more rational, logical mind space.
I love that you added that. I love that, especially because it really highlights that how we each connect to our intuition is so different. And
Mhm.
that one day it might be that your body's like, we're tingling today to tell you what's going on. Another day it's like, no, no, no. Like we're gonna very like highlight with your eyes. Like let's see, let's like pinpoint like airplane landing strip right there. And then sometimes it's temperature. And it could
And
change,
sometimes
it
it's
could
nothing.
fluctuate. Sometimes it's
Sometimes you're just
nothing.
like, which one? Because I'm not really feeling anything right now, you know? And that's just the moment where it's just choose. Just choose whichever one you feel in that moment, and that's the one that's meant to be.
Mm,
And I feel like this
yes.
also leads us so perfectly into our next section within this, which are introducing the clairs. This is a beautiful way. It's an incredible framework that I think most of us have maybe heard about what are the different ways that we receive intuitive hits through these different clairs. So we're going to start with the ones that are the most common. So we have clairvoyant. This naturally translates to clear seeing. And oftentimes with this form of intuition, this is where we can see visuals, we can see images, we can see colors. Sometimes we are able to see an actual timeline that is in the past or in the future. And these are all insights and visions that we receive through our third eye. So, another way that we can also receive clairvoyance is through our dreams. In the
Mhm.
dream realm, these are also visions. This is us stepping into the astral realm and receiving guidance and cues through our dreams. And this is why dream interpretation is also so incredibly important within trying to discern what your intuition is speaking to you.
And I have a lot of experience with clear seeing, clear vision. What's clairvoyance? It's interesting because in this current moment, I don't feel as connected to it because it's not my main clair that I work with anymore. This used to be my only way that I connected to my intuition. It made me feel very ungrounded though, because it didn't feel like it was coming from my body, but more from this external source. Um, but visions for me were I would just get like pictures sometimes of things, like a frog on a lily pad, or I'd just see like a grandmother doing something. And then when I would just share, like I wouldn't have any context when I would get my visions. Like I wasn't a story that was necessarily playing. It was images, like standstill images. And I'd always be hesitant to like, oh my God, do I even share this? Because like I have no idea what this has to do with. I really couldn't tell you any context, but most of the time I would share and someone would start crying. And I'm like, what does this mean to you? Because I have no idea. um, and just interesting that I did have a vision recent when I was doing an energy healing, and I saw it was just this old man. No, it wasn't an old man. I knew it was a man, but it was like shifting between an older man and a younger man, and he was just fishing. And there was just this sense of peacefulness. And I had no idea what this had to do with anything, but it was so clear. I'm like, I can't not say it. So I told my client, and she was like, "Yeah, my boyfriend is going fishing with his dad this weekend." And I was like, "That's crazy."
Hmm.
I was like,
Goosebumps.
"Lovely. That's so cool." I'm like, "I couldn't have told you that that's what I saw. I just said that I saw a man fishing." So that's how my clairvoyance comes. It's really standstill images that guide, or I can't even say guide because I don't really know what they mean a lot of the times. I just lean on them for whatever guidance or support they're meant to be for whoever's meant to hear them if I saw them. And if it resonates, if it doesn't, then disregard.
I have a story time.
Go.
And I'm really curious to see who relates to this because I feel like we all have at least one experience like this. This is when I was a child and I had clairvoyance and didn't know what it was and hadn't been spiritually initiated into understanding spirit and understanding energy and our capacity to connect to this energetic realm. So I was at my mom's friend's house. We're just having a casual family friend dinner. People brought food, there's music playing. I remember we were at my mom's friend's apartment, and it was a two-story apartment. So the party's happening in the main floor, and the bedrooms are upstairs. And it's like the bedrooms and maybe an office and then a bathroom. So I remember I went upstairs to go to the bathroom because everything was already busy and used downstairs, whatever. I go upstairs, I'm by myself. And as I'm going up the stairs, it's dark. So I didn't turn on any of the lights because there's just natural light coming from the street. And as I go up the stairs, I have to walk down this hallway to get to the bathroom. And to give you some context of layout, I have to walk past all of these different bedrooms. The doors are open and they have windows. So this is important because it's dark, but there is still some type of natural light coming through. So there's almost this contrast of darkness and some light. And as I'm walking to the bathroom, this bathroom has no mirrors, sorry, no windows, I mean. And I look in and there's a figure of a man. There is a very clearly distinguished figure of a man with a hat. And there is no man with a hat at this party. And I remember my whole body getting so hot and being like, there's an intruder in this house. There's an intruder in this house. Like, we're not safe. Who is this person? And I ran downstairs to tell my mother. I was like, Mom, this is an emergency right now. We need to get someone upstairs because there's someone that came into this house.
911.
And we go upstairs and there's
No,
no one there. And there's no one there. And I just remember how incredibly afraid I was in that moment, especially because I was in the dark and I was just like,
mm-hmm.
I'm what else is in the dark? What else is in the shadows that I can't
Mm-hmm.
see?
Mm-hmm.
And from that day, there was just this fear of the dark that I developed where anytime I was in a dark room, I was like, oh my God, is there going to be a shadow man in here with me?
Yeah, scanning for the hat. Where's the hat? Where's the
Scanning for the
hat?
hat. And I was
Yeah.
so interesting because logically in that moment, right, I didn't know anything about spirit or energy at that time. So I was scanning the windows and seeing if any of them were open. Like again,
Yeah.
no one made a big deal about it. I was basically told like, okay, that's your imagination,
Under the
honey.
rug. Yeah.
And it was swept under the rug. And it was such a critical moment that developed so much fear for me. And it was really the fear of the unknown. It was because of the fact that I couldn't mentally understand what was happening. And I find that when the mind can't understand something, sometimes it tends to freak out. It's like, no, no,
Mm-hmm.
no, 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 I don't know. I don't know what this is. So I'm scared of it now. And
Mm-hmm.
I do want to say that fear is one of those things that can block these intuitive senses. So when
I
we
would even
have,
say, yeah. No,
go
go.
ahead.
It clouds. It clouds it. It makes like that discernment is not clear. There's no clarity. There's like a misty fog when there's fear. Because I love how you said that we get scared of it. And then when we're scared of things, we pull away. We want to run. Like our nervous system is literally activated. We're in
Mhm.
fight or flight. So there's nothing that what we're perceiving isn't actually what is real. Anyways, I just wanted to add that.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. I do like that because rather than this very clear block, I do like that. It's more so it's just a cloud. It's just clouded. It's not that it's not on or it's not communicating with you, but you just see it less clearly.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're going to go on to our next one, which is clairsentience. Some people say clear empathy, and this is really a clear feeling. So this is for a lot of our highly sensitive individuals, a lot of our empaths here that can feel the emotions of what another person is feeling. And sometimes that is something that doesn't even require any active engagement with a person. Just by being in the same room as a person, you
Mm-hmm.
notice your energy shift. And this is one of those things that we can feel as an emotion in our body. We can feel it as an energy. Sometimes we feel it as like an actual physical sensation where I'm feeling the pain that another person is
Mm-hmm.
experiencing. And this is one of those things that the more that we become aware of this clairsentience, the more that we can also learn how to protect ourselves
Mm-hmm.
and what that means to have this gift of feeling while also honoring what you need to be able to regulate and to come back to your own personal experience when you're in environments that have a lot of
Mm-hmm.
energy and a lot of people.
A lot of feelings. And I do want to add, I feel these are all these the clear senses, these ways of connecting to our intuition, they can be developed. They can be, yes, I think each of us are maybe more inclined to be connected to one or two or three, but every single one of these can be developed. And especially when it comes to clairsentience, I see this as a bit the skill of empathy, of connecting to others and understanding, not necessarily agreeing with their experience or any of that, but feeling their experience as theirs, whether or not you've had that same experience or not. We all experience emotions. And if there's one thing that we can truly connect on is the emotion or the feeling that we've had based off of an experience. So it might not be the story, it might not be what actually happened to the person, but feeling what that person experienced during whatever it is that happened and the emotion that is there, that's what we are connecting on. And I think a lot of this piece of like clairsentience is also co-regulating with someone, like being in presence. And again, it comes back to this attunement, attuning to the person in front of you, attuning to yourself so that you can discern what's theirs and what's mine, but also sit and be like, wow, what's coming up for you? Like, I feel that. Like when you shared that, like I felt that heaviness in my chest and that was sadness. And this is something that can 100% be developed. I think we're in our society, and again, we live here. We're taught to live here, be productive, and do all of that. But being in the bodies, being in the feelings can be learned, and it can reconnect us to ourselves and to each other.
I do also want to say that I feel for myself a way that I tried to shut off this Claire specifically was by avoiding eye contact with people
Mhm.
because I'd feel that having clear eye contact with someone would sometimes feel overwhelming because I just feel just overcome with all of these different emotions that they were experiencing, especially people that I just random strangers that I see on the street. And there are specific people where I can see their energy and I know that in that moment I don't want to connect to that energy and that those are the moments that I just will avoid eye contact.
Mhm.
And it doesn't mean not looking at a person or not addressing them, but you can look right above their eyes and not need to look at their eyes. And I find that that's a helpful way of just being able to direct perhaps this connection and this empathy that you may
Mhm.
feel towards other people. If you're one of those people that, are in a situation and you're feeling a bit overstimulated, overwhelmed, then this is a helpful tip.
Mhm. Especially
And
because you never have to do something you don't wanna do. Like, if you don't wanna look into someone's eyes and you just wanna I love that tip, that, like, look up here or just
mhm.
divert your attention
And
a
they
little
don't
bit.
know. Like people don't
Mhm.
actually notice that often.
Mm-mm.
So it was a very helpful tip that was told to me and I was like, okay. What?
Beautiful boundaries for yourself. Beautiful.
So I'm going to bring us into our next one, which is clear cognizance. And this is clear knowing. This is really, truly just this unexplainable gut feeling that you have within yourself. It is so incredibly undeniable of how you know what you know. And oftentimes, there is absolutely zero mental explanation for why you just have this knowing. And
Mm.
something that Megan and I will play with is this. It's like a delusion, We're just like, we're just being Delulu because no one else gets it. But
We feel it. We
we
know
feel it.
it.
We feel it so strongly that I can't not follow that intuition.
Mm-mm.
But does it feel absolutely delusional sometimes? Yes, especially when you're trying to explain it to someone and they're just like, but can you explain it through the mind? Like, where is the logical reasoning behind? And there isn't.
There's
Sometimes,
none.
most times, there's zero.
Doesn't exist.
Yeah,
Alright, I don't have clear knowing, it's just like this knowing. I'm freezing, I think. Is it
there you
freezing on
go.
your end? Okay,
You're back.
excellent. But yeah, I don't have much more to add about the clear knowing because it really just is a felt sense of, "Yep, this is truth for me." And I
Yep.
couldn't tell you why, but I know that this feels in alignment in my heart, in my gut, in my soul, and that's all I have to say about it. And there is nothing that needs to be said about it because, again, it's a felt sense. There's nothing to explain. It's just this knowing inside of you.
So, for any of you that are delulu about the dream, we are with you and we also get it because every single person that created something from scratch that came from within themselves, from this deeper place of knowing, it all started with a dream that they wholeheartedly believed in, even
Mhm,
in moments that they had no rational, logical evidence that it would even manifest, that it was valuable. There was still this inner push and this inner motivation and knowing that it had to be brought forward. And this is where so many of these beautiful creations that we've been able to experience have come from.
mhm.
So we're gonna go on to our next one, which is Claire Aliens. This is not one that I am too well familiar with, but it is
Okay.
clear smelling. So these are moments where you receive information through sense of smell. You might be outside and just all of a sudden feel that you're smelling peppermint, but there's no peppermint around you. Or you smell maybe like cigarette or tobacco smoke
Mhm,
and you're indoors and no one's smoking. And these are definitely moments where your intuition is speaking to you, and there may be some type of spirit that is present around you that may have an association to that scent.
Mm. I wanna, I actually had an experience with this. I was, like, shaking my head like, "I have no experience with this," but I did because I've always associated to being a spirit or something trying to connect with me. But the other day, I'm in a long distance relationship and I just felt like I smelt my partner. Like just his smell, like his natural body odor. And like I felt like sadness because I'm like, there's no way. He's 7 hours away by plane right now. Like, how can I be smelling this? And it was just like this connection to him. And I haven't told him yet, but I'm wondering, like, oh, were we thinking about each other in that moment? Or was he thinking about me? And that was way that just through the web of connection of consciousness that we connected, and I thought that was a really sweet moment. So that could also be a way that you experience your clair salience, smelling things or as that remind you or that are connected to people in your life.
Yeah, it's definitely one that not a lot of people talk about, but it is very much present. And so, yeah, also very curious if anyone has experienced clear smelling of any kind in a way that, felt undeniable. And so,
Mm,
going on to our next one is clairaudience. This is clear hearing. This is a
mm,
sense of hearing and detecting information through your ears. This can be ringing in your ears. This can be a word. Sometimes for myself, this is a very active form of clair. And I connect to this through sound healing. So I literally hear melodies in myself, in my it kind of feels like it's in my mind, like it's like through my inner ears, but I hear actually the vocal toning that I then do in that moment. And it's so interesting to be able to be in the moment, be receiving this intuition, and then to try to replicate it with the tools that I have at my disposal in that moment,
mm,
whether those are my instruments or my voice. And there's definitely times where I'm called to make sounds that I'm just like, oh my God. Oh my God, this is one, not really what I feel would be relaxing in this moment. Or two, what if my voice cracks? Like there's just, but it's exactly what needs to come through. And when I just allow myself to get out of the way and just get out of the mind and just let myself be in the intuitive guidance, it always just comes through exactly as it's meant to.
mm,
There is no voice cracks. There is no squeaks. There is no person waking up just like, whoa, why did you do that? Like truly it is all informing itself. And it's really beautiful to receive confirmation from this sense, especially when you are musically connected. I find that connecting with music is one of those things that opens up this clair a lot more.
mm. I love that. I had shivers the entire time you're talking about that, especially being someone that's experienced the transmissions, the channeling, the you connecting to this clair. Yeah, it's interesting because I've never known this is something new I've just discovered about you. I didn't know that that's how you do your magic. So that's really cool. I'm glad I got to
Yeah.
hear that piece.
it's developing. It's developing. It's
Yep.
so interesting because this is a new clair for me. This is not something
Mhm.
that I had experienced before. And so yeah, it's very interesting to see how utilizing these instruments and doing sound healing in a way that is so stream of consciousness, it it just starts to open up this channel.
Mhm.
So we're going to go into our next one. This is clairgustance. This is clear tasting. So it's basically tasting, the ability to taste something without any actual physical stimuli. So often it's something that we may even just be experiencing through our mind of what that sensation of taste is provoking within us. I personally don't have too much experience with this one, I think,
This one I have zero experience with. I really couldn't. I have nothing to add. I'm like I know the definition. I know
but
of
it's
some people
definitely
that
one of
have,
them.
but it's one of them. But it's not something I've ever experienced before.
And our last one is clear tangency. So this is clear touch. So
Hmm.
involves perceiving information through touch, such as sensing the energy or the history of objects or people. I feel like with this, goosebumps are definitely one of those
Mhm,
things where it's like, it's hard because goosebumps, I feel like, may fall within clairsentience or clairtangency, which is the clear touch. But ultimately, it's just this resonance in your body that
mhm,
you feel through the skin,
mhm,
through your actual physical body. Sometimes I've definitely felt like a hug from a spirit
mm,
before. And it's not that there's this like indenting or imprint in my skin, but there's almost this like force around me that I just feel is just kind of like holding me rather than like
mm,
gripping and squeezing me. So it's not as much pressure, but it's definitely more of this feeling of, yeah, just this presence.
mm. It's interesting because I have a very opposite experience. Like, I'm literally I've noticed I started shallow breathing. I felt like I had to I have a big boundary with my clear tangency. I don't like being touched. I have had very uncomfortable experiences with energies in the past that have touched me. And it's very strong. I've strongly set that into the field, nothing is allowed to touch me. And I do want to speak to setting boundaries with your clair senses, that if there's something that makes you uncomfortable, that you do not like, that you do not want to receive information through, you have the right, the literal right to state out loud, I do not want to receive information this way. And I think that's really important to reclaim your own sovereignty within this and that you have complete, I don't want to use the word control, but
Autonomy.
autonomy over your body at all times. And yeah, my whole body was collapsing as you started talking about it because I'm like, I don't like this, Claire. Like, I don't like being touched by something I can't see, by something I don't know that's touching me. It feels very invasive and uncomfortable. Um, so I do want to speak to the boundaries that can be very present when it comes to our senses. And yeah, hold on, I'm just gonna, whew,
Hmm.
that came
Hmm.
through.
I also do want to say as well that, we can either protect ourselves from any of these clairs that we may be experiencing in any moment. And this is where sovereignty comes in. This is where conviction comes in. And we can also open ourselves up more if it is something
Mhm,
that we want to connect with. If we do feel that we are in the presence of a spirit that is familiar to us, or if we're actually doing a ritual or having a moment of presence to connect to something specifically, then again, if you set that as an intention, these clairs will be more open and you'll be more receptive to this energy. But if not, or if you don't feel safe, then you can do the same thing in the opposite way.
mhm,
So I feel like spiritual protection is something that has come through so strongly in our work with women in doing these women's circles and hosting ceremonies and recognizing the responsibility of when you're opening these spaces. What are things that need to be done to make sure that it's safe, to make sure that there is clear intention of what energy you're connecting to? And this is something that we will definitely talk a lot more
mhm,
in. I feel like this is really a topic that's going to come up in almost every single episode
mhm.
because it's so
Mostly, it's
important.
important. It's the foundation of anything you do, spiritual work, emotional work, mental work. Protection is vital. It's essential. And especially when you're working with other people and that are bringing in their emotions, their feelings, their bodies, their sensations, it is a responsibility, as Milana said, to protect and to be very, very conscious and aware of what are you communicating with? What are you allowing into the space and what are you not allowing into the space and claiming that, stating that, creating the container for what you're moving through. Um, yeah, that's something we've definitely learned and integrated into all the work we do, including these podcast episodes. But spiritual hygiene, spiritual protection, if you're going to do anything, that should be the first and most important thing you do.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And we will definitely like I said, we're definitely going to be talking about this a lot more in these episodes. We're going to be going into this in a lot more depth within the collective. This is probably going to be one of the first things that we'll touch on
Mhm.
before even going into how to connect even further. And so
Mhm.
if that's something that is of any interest to you, then this is an invitation to join us in the collective where we're able to provide a lot more resources on this, truly
I'm
because of
realizing,
how important it
sorry.
is.
We probably should have started with spiritual protection. Shouldn't have been said like the end of the episode, but pretend that we said this at the beginning because it should be before being curious and exploring any of these senses. Spiritual protection should be prioritado.
Hmm. And now we go into our embodied intuition and what does it mean to actually ground all of this awareness through these different senses? How do we actually ground this into our present moment experience?
Mm. So I'm going to be using or talking a little bit more about interoception, our sense of inner awareness. We, and kind of coming back to something I said before, we have been rooted and taught to operate solely from our minds, completely disconnected from our bodies. I mean, from the moment we wake up in the morning, our attention is being pulled outside of us. Our phones need our attention. We need to get ready for work. We need to drive somewhere. We are not focused or conscious of anything that's really going on with us because we don't have the time and we don't have the space, or we're not given the time and space, or we're not taught how to develop that for ourselves. So interoception really refers to the perception we have of connecting to our bodies, the inner body, so the temperature we're feeling, if we're feeling any pain anywhere, our heartbeat, our breath that's coming from in the body. This can also be our sense of when are we hungry, when are we thirsty. It's kind of like this indication of what does my body need, which we typically go to others. We expect other people to meet our needs, but we're the first to know what is it that I actually need in this moment instead of expecting everybody else to figure it out for me. Interoception is a beautiful sense that helps us know so that we could then ask others to also help meet our needs. And this awareness of our body, of our needs, of our senses, of our clair senses, it's foundational to our intuition. Because if we didn't know any of this about ourselves, what are we really connecting to? Our intuition is ours. It's nobody else's. Um, so when we're talking about that gut feeling that we're connecting to, it's in us. It's in us. It's connected to our nervous system. And and then it's then communicating to us through all these different elements, whether it's like I'm thirsty, I'm hungry, I'm hot, I'm cold, I'm feeling something from within me. And I want to speak to, there's a researcher, an occupational therapist. Her name is Kelly Maller, and she's done a lot of beautiful research on interoception. And there was something she had said in one of her conferences that I attended that she specifically works with children and helping them identify their body cues for their needs, like when they're thirsty, when they're hungry, when they have to go to the washroom. And she spoke to the fact that we as a society, because we've associated specific cues, excuse me, to specific body senses. Like when you're hungry, your tummy's going to grumble. When you're tired, you might feel
Mm.
heavy in your body. And we're almost gaslighting all of these kids. We've been gaslit to believe that particular things mean particular things, particular sensations mean particular motivations or needs for you. And I thought that was so illuminating because if you have a kid that doesn't feel the grumbling in their tummy when they're hungry, but feels tinglings in their hands, they are literally second guessing their own body cues. They're second guessing everything about their experience. And okay, so you're telling me that what I'm feeling is actually wrong and that I should be feeling this. And I thought that was so mind blowing and important because this is foundational to how people are going to connect to themselves and then to the world around them and to the people in their lives. And this comes all back to our intuition, to trusting ourselves, to trusting the signals that our bodies are giving us and cueing us. And then when this comes even more so into just our intuition, it's yeah, it's like this whole disconnection from self that interoception is such a huge, huge piece to, I believe, how we connect to our intuition. And I think this is really the birth of a science that's going to explain a lot of things that have been woo woo for a very
Mhm.
long time. And it's going to give it more grounded, what's the word? Grounded truth, grounded realness, tangibility. Um, but yeah, our intuition is really not in our minds, but it comes from our bodies. And I think that is the most important way for us to connect to ourselves and our intuition. I don't know if I'm missing anything or I went on like different ways, but
No, no,
did
no.
that
I
make
feel
sense?
like yes, yes, it made
Okay.
sense. Did I make sense?
I'm not
Speaks
sure.
so much insightful wisdom. Did that land?
Did that land?
And it's speaking to the fact that we are all bio individual, of speaking to the fact that we will all experience these senses, whether it's our intuition that we are receiving through any of these clairs, or whether it is just our own body cues. All of these are
Mhm,
completely bio individual. And again, we are going through all of these clairs and we are offering some guidance as to how they may actually come through. But there's so much more that this can be expressed as, that is not just in the framework of what we're learning it as.
mhm,
So, clairaudience can feel very different for some people versus how I experience it. And I think that that's also the value of having these conversations, to be able to share more perspective and be able to have much more variability in terms of how people actually experience intuition in their body.
mhm,
Because we all have a blueprint that is completely unique to us. And so we are all
mhm,
naturally going to experience the world around us and the world inside of us slightly differently. And while we are all human, and yes, we are all going to be able to relate to our human experience, it is still always going to be unique for each person. So,
mhm,
again, this is not to put any of these clairs into a box and say, nice little bow, this is how it looks like. But this is just guidance for you to feel into yourself how this actually shows up for you. And
mhm.
again, we do want this to be a podcast that is also sparking conversation of, if there are any of these clairs that come through for you differently than how we've expressed it, we would love for you to share it, because that teaches
Please.
us. It also could potentially be a gateway for us to be able to connect to this clair. And who knows, maybe in connecting to a clair through that specific way, it might be the way that person can open that up more for themselves. So again, these are all just invitations and suggestions, but this will look different for everyone.
Mhm,
And I
and the more
feel like
people s sorry, love. The more people share their experiences, the more you can validate the experience of others that might feel like their experience isn't valid or isn't real. So I think I really wanna emphasize, please drop in comments how you experience your intuition because it's gonna be very illuminating for other people as well.
so now going into how this applies to gestating the dream. So what is the dream before the dream, and how is this a process of this gestation period of that dream before it becomes manifest? And so, really, when we're talking about gestation, right, we're talking about trusting in what is unseen, trusting in this knowing or in this guidance that you're feeling from within yourself, and knowing that this is leading you somewhere that is going to take you exactly where you are meant to be. And I feel like when we actually truly commit ourselves to the process of manifesting our dreams, it completely goes against the mind. It completely goes against your own survival instincts. I've had so many moments, even just in the creative process of Venusian Womb and following this dream, where my ego starts freaking out. It starts
Mhm,
freaking out because it's just like, why are we doing this? Why are we, what, we need to make sure that we have the basic things to survive. And so we need to do certain things that are predictable to get us to this place of survival and meeting our needs. And right, it's so interesting how, when you are in this process of gestation, when you are starting to connect to this seed, to this inner knowing, to this guidance, the mind is going to freak out. The ego is also going to freak out in moments, because it's not mentally grounded in anything sometimes. And
Mhm.
oftentimes that clarity will come, the mental clarity will come, but it's not always going to be there right in the beginning. It's truly one of those things where the process will inform itself and the clarity will come as you start taking the steps forward.
Mhm. And it's trusting, like, the guidance that your body's giving you as you take it, because like, the mind wants to make sense and, like, kinda control and framework and plan for everything, but the body's like, "But no, we're gonna go this way, or we're gonna do this." And I think a big piece that I do wanna loop this back around to, because we are Venusian womb. We connect to our wombs through this. We're I would say, I'm gonna speak for me, I could be speaking for Elijah, we are in the process of developing the intuition that our womb holds within herself and learning how to be in relationship and communicate with her and listen to her. I think we're both good at listening to our bodies in other ways, but the womb herself, she's a whole entity. She is something so divine and has so much to offer, that learning and building a relationship with her and listening to the intuition she has, which, yes, is part of you, but is also part of this bigger orchestration of things, because it's such a co-creative effort when you're working with the womb. It's not just you. And learning to tune into her is a whole different ballpark. It's a whole different field. And that is a big part of all these senses that we've described today. You can learn to listen to her through these different ways. Like, what is she saying? What does she smell like? What does she taste like? What does she feel like? When I'm touching her, what does she say? How does she respond to my touch? And as you're cultivating your dream, or as you've planted this dream, and then you start tending to the dream through this connection, you're just building this stronger, I guess, like, channel for you to get more messages and receive more of where you're going, how you're headed there, and just knowing that all you need to do is just keep working on building and strengthening that relationship, and the messages will come, the clarity will come, the discernment will come. It's just you need to be devoted to evolving and growing in that connection, and not necessarily in, like, the where am I going and what am I doing? It's the no, 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 how am I connecting more to me? How am I gonna hear more loudly so that my soul doesn't have to be screaming at me anymore and I can just hear the whispers?
Mm. I'm so glad that you brought the element of the womb into this conversation because of the fact that I actually started to dream when I started connecting to my womb. I thought I was dreaming in the past. I really did. I thought that I was manifesting. I thought that I was visualizing the life that I wanted until I realized that I couldn't even fathom the life that I wanted. The life that I wanted, well, I guess at the time that was the capacity that I had to dream that dream. But when I actually truly tap into what the dream really is, when it comes from this place that is beyond limitation, it goes beyond the mental realm, it goes beyond the current life experience that you have and what you've been exposed to. Because it's like, how could we possibly dream the greatest dream for ourselves when it's coming from a place of what we've experienced thus far? Right? It's like you don't know what you
Yeah.
don't know. And I feel like the moment that I started connecting to the dream from a place that was from such an embodied, womby space, I was
Mhm.
actually able to go beyond the limitations of the mind and truly dream without a glass ceiling. And I feel like when you're able to dream from that place, the actual manifestation of what that looks like may not be clear. But the feeling of it is something that is so incredibly big. It's so grandiose. And the more that you cultivate those feelings, like what you truly want to feel within that dream, that is when the dream becomes clear. Like you said, that's when you start to actually see the ways that these elements of the dream will start to materialize, or the creations that need to come through to make this tangible will just eventually start to become more clear as you're already taking the steps in the process.
Mm. Yeah, just to add on to that, and I think this will also kind of complete this little section on gestation. While in gestation, we don't see what's emerging. We don't see what's materializing or becoming. It is happening like behind a curtain in the dark. We have no idea what's going on. And kind of like our intuition. That's why we really started our episode 1 with intuition, because this is really what has guided us along this entire journey so far. It's like a mother who's tending to her baby and attuning to the needs of her child. Like, what does my baby need? It's like, why are you crying? Like, are you hungry? Are you tired? Are you thirsty? Like, do you want your back rubbed? A dream is a baby too. And our intuition is like this compass that corrects us and guides us into, how do I tend to my dream right now? Because I'm not forcing it to grow. I'm not forcing it to become anything particular. I'm caring for it as it is in this state of gestation, as it hasn't even been born yet. Or it's like kind of how do I take care of my pregnant body before the baby's even born? What are the needs of the dream? And how do I hear that? How do I listen? Through my intuition, through my body, through all these different clairsentiences. I don't even know if that's a word, but I'm gonna claim it as a word. Clairsentiences.
Sis. So I feel like we've been able to explain a little bit more about how does the dream before the dream develop, and how does that then lead us into this process of gestation, where we are co-creating the dream with something greater, where we are surrendering to this plan that goes beyond the mind. And also in that process, connecting to a more embodied presence to be able to receive the guidance of this dream that is manifesting slowly and gestating behind the scenes before it's even created and
Mhm.
shown to the world and shared. And some things that, could be supportive for you to be able to connect to your intuition every day or on a daily basis and devote yourself to this sacred practice of listening, of bringing in presence to your body to be able to receive the guidance that's coming through any of the different clairs that we spoke about. So, we wanted to give you some practices to be able to connect to your intuition on a daily basis, to start to strengthen this muscle of discernment, of embodiment, and of intuition, and recognizing how your intuition is speaking to you. Some practices that we wanted to share were going outside and grounding in nature, bare feet on the earth, taking some deep breaths throughout the day, having some check ins that you give yourself, not Megan's toesies over here, doing some check-ins throughout the day, whether that's a morning check-in or an evening check-in before bed, especially if you've been going out to places that have a lot of people or very overstimulated or new environments. It's always great to see, are you feeling drained? Are you feeling perhaps nurtured? Or is there some energy that you might be holding on to that's not yours? And this is the importance of spiritual hygiene when you do notice those things, is making sure that you have ways of cleansing yourself. Some other practices are doing body scans, so bringing presence and awareness into your body. Any creative flow practice or any type of even connection where you're not speaking from a place of mind and you're able to just have a very open and fluid, flowy conversation with a friend. This is also very beautiful to just kind of surrender to the conversation and see where your consciousness even goes. And even beyond that, there's also just dance and sensual expression, connecting to your voice. All of these are ways that we can connect to our senses to open up these channels and to be able to receive more from within. Because truly most of our intuition, yes, we can have these spirit guides or, this external guidance, but most of this is truly something that we have to discern within ourselves. And we create the meaning behind the guidance that we come across in our life. So I really do hope that these practices are supportive for you. Again, if there are any practices that you found are very helpful for you that haven't been listed here, please share that down below so we can share some of this good juice and wisdom for all of the other people that are listening to this right now.
If you have stuck it out till the end with us, we thank you for listening to this entire episode, for landing here with us, and just being present through this past hour. I think this is almost an hour recording. And we want to extend the invitation to join our Venusian collective, especially if this is new to you. If you were like, okay, this sounds great, but I'm still feeling a little confused on how to do this, we are going to go even deeper into the practices that Milena just shared. We're going to offer more guidance through guided meditations. We're going to offer some like little PDF frameworks. We're going to offer more videos. You're going to have more direct connection with us. You can ask us questions, and there's going to be other people who are also journeying and developing the same thing. So this is the invitation to join us in the collective where we are going to go even deeper in this and following every theme that we explore in the collective is going to follow the themes of these episodes. So if you kind of listen to an episode, it gives you the teaser, the introduction to what is going deeper in the collective. So this is your invitation for that. And it's also an invitation to get ready for the episode that we're going to be journeying through next week and talking about next week, which is going to be the full body yes. It's the theme of what does it feel like to claim your dream? And now we had the dream before the dream, the seeding, the conceiving of the dream. And then what does it feel like to, yes, this is my dream, and to own it? And that's what we're going to be talking about in the next episode.
Thank you for joining us inside the Venusian womb. If this episode spoke to something within you, we'd be so grateful if you left us a review or rating. It truly helps our podcast grow and reach more beautiful souls who are on this journey of becoming.
You can also share this episode with someone who may resonate with this message. Sometimes the right words arrive exactly when needed the most. Remember, growth takes time, and everything you're becoming is unfolding exactly as it's meant to.
May this Venusian code activate the Venusian energy within you. Until next time, take a breath, trust the timing, and keep tending to the dream within.
With love, Milena and Megan.